All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm just going to unmute you all so then you can choose to mute and unmute yourself as we're going along. So I'll go through. So Andrea, I've unmuted you. Can you hear okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Okay. Lee, same for you. Hi, Lee, you there?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I did cut out, and yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Neil?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Ryan? Ryan, can you hear okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. And finally, Tracy?
Yes, I'm here. Just to let you know, Amanda Grimes can't make it this morning.
Okay, no problem. So I think, let me just check that's everyone on.
Is Emma coming on? Does anybody know? Or Mark?
I thought they were.
I thought Emma was going to.
I can give it a couple of minutes, no problem.
Okay, dokes.
I'll keep
Whereabouts are you, Amy, geographically?
Bedfordshire, so just north of London.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been a grey day, but it has been quite nice in the country.
It's been lovely, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's Northern Ireland, it's been good.
Are you all based in and around Belfast?
Yeah.
What's it like over there?
Great day. It has been sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, today's the first bad day I've had in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a shame, really, isn't it? When you're ever locked inside, it's like you want opportunity to go out. You want it to be nice.
Yeah, I know.
So I can't see anyone else joining at the moment. So I will share my screen and just let me know if you guys can all see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to record this so that I can send it on so that those that may not have been able to attend?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be
please.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good.
Cool. Record that. I'll download it and send it on, and then it can be distributed how needed. So, well, I suppose good morning is the first thing. So my name's Amy. I'm a digital solutions manager. So I may have met a couple of you when I last came in, maybe not. But my responsibility is to kind of train you up, to give you additional training and support to make sure that you're using Learning Assistant effectively. Now, can we just run through, are all of you familiar users with it? Is anyone brand new? What kind of, how are you all positioned in this?
We're all using it.
We're all using it to a certain degree, but we're not sure if we're using it right or not.
Okay, no worries. So do you want me to do a sort of back to basics, how the system should be used?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of dip in and out, and you can either feel free to unmute and stop me and shout if you want to add anything as we're going along. But I'll go back to basics, and then you can decide if that's how you want to use the system or not. Does that work?
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to sort of highlight, maybe it might help you whenever you're doing your demonstrations, that we deliver framework, not EPA standards.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a generic customer service framework ready.
All right, that's okay. So you can kind of work out the difference between EPA and the difference between framework when we're trying to put the evidence up on that. So that's fine.
No, that's fine. I've been an assessor in a past life myself as well on frameworks, so definitely my go-to as well.
Excellent.
So I'm just going to log in as my assessor account. So if I could just ask everyone to kind of go on mute for a bit if you've got any background noise, just so that the recording comes through clear, but obviously feel free to unmute. The difference between awaiting evidence review and awaiting review, I'll go into a little bit more detail your home screen. Of course, please make sure that your preferences and notifications are set up correctly. So preferences is everything about how the system looks. So you can see I've got sort of dew tone in my icons, and my words are a little bit bigger to make it easier to see. But you can set up if you prefer bar charts rather than donut charts, and you can just have a look at the system for your own eyes. Notifications, the first thing to do is make sure that your correct email address is in here, and then all of your notifications are turned on. We get a lot of feedback saying, oh, I don't get told when a learner uploads evidence, or if I get IQA. Normally it's because either the email address is incorrect, or someone's put a space at the end of it, or the notification is set to no. So what I would recommend is turn everything on to yes, so you know. So on your home screen as well, you've got the resources tab here. And this, you'll have something generically in there called YouTube resources. And now this is little mini snapshot videos that we have done to kind of guide you into different parts of the system. So that if you forget anything, you can learn the videos, you can. Any additional resources that I've got in here are things that your system admin would be building and allocating in. So if you've got nothing else in there, it's because whoever is your admin hasn't put any resources in. If it's something that you as a team will find valuable, you can always feedback that they should be resources like policies and procedures, safeguarding, prevent, all of those high level that no matter what course you're on or what program you deliver, the resources sit in here. Okay, you're out and about, not so much at the moment, but if you're out and about, then you can download LA, which gives you sort of a basic version of the system, to be able to still upload observations or assessments offline, and then when you sync back up to Wi-Fi, you can open it up and press sync, which will then send it over to the live site. So it just gives you that options sort of when you're out and about. And then the top two is obviously how to download the apps, either on tablets or phones. They work on Android and Apple. They don't work on Windows, unfortunately, but you can get them on either one. And when you log in there, it'll ask you for your username, your password, and something called an instance. Now your instance is going to be this sort of bold text here. So mine's Demo Amy, yours might be Belfast Met. It might, you know, whatever the / is on your login details is what your instance is. Any questions on those bits and pieces? I'll take silence as a no. Okay. So down the side here, I'm just gonna, if someone wants to just let me know, is processes something that you use as a centre? It would be set up by your system admin. Does anyone know?
Not sure. No, we just.
I think you would know if you did use them, because you'd have been told to go in and accept them and sort of sign them off. So is that not something that you guys use?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
No problem.
Not aware of.
So, just for your reference, processes is something that your administrators or management would set up, and it's time-bound tasks. So, for example, it's once the learners have come into the system, have they completed their initial assessments or diagnostics, for example, and you'd sign that off. You would then sign off. Oh, hi Emma, Emma's just joined. And then you would sign it off to say that that you kind of have done that process. But if it's not something that you have in place at the moment, then we won't go into it until your system admin have decided whether they do or not. CPD, do you log your CPD in Learning Assistant, or have you got your own internal site?
They're both really, yeah. Still use CPD on here, but we've got our own site now to sort of record CPD as well.
Okay, so it's an option to have it in one place if you're there, you know, when you might be at standardisation or something and you've all got your laptops with your learners and all the standards in front of you. To create a new entry, it's like a diary that you can log, so you can give it a description. What is that? So learning assistant standardisation today, actions, user A, more, and any reflection notes. I remember to turn on my and you can log this as you're going along. You can have this open as you're kind of in meetings. You can put in how many hours that this has taken, the date that it was completed, and you can upload any additional documents. So it's really good for things like standardization and things, because you can upload the agenda. You can, obviously you need to, or print in the top corner, and this will give you a rolling log of all of the CPD, any documents associated, and how long that's taken.
We'll use that for us. She uses that for our CPD. So for those that haven't had that yet, just be aware of that, and then you can put it onto the other CPD recording if you need to.
I didn't know that was even there for us to use, to be honest. So it might be an option for us to go to, rather than the
forum is loaded as well. So it's up to you as to whether you use it, and it's not something that is linked to. It's that additional bits, because it doesn't sit within their course folder. It's is that Emma got some little feet around?
I've kids here, so that's why.
Parents over the last week. You can create a first thread, and you could put in a subject. So it's going to be something like, have you seen this news article? Have you seen this piece of information? Can see this thread. So it's not going to be answers to anything. It's just going to be guidance materials or discussion topics. So it is there as a choice as to whether you want to use it or not. Just something, unfortunately for the learners, there are no notifications that there's a new forum. If you all deliver the same qualification, you've all got access to the same forum. If it's something that you actively don't want to use and you don't want your learners to have access to it, then it can be turned off from system admin, letting digital support know. So it is an optional configuration.
Amy,
Yeah.
so on that one, with the forums, it looks like it's set up by a particular qualification. There's two organisations that can you filter out and just add some in, or does it go by the qualification itself?
At the moment, it goes by the qualification itself.
Right, so
And
everyone registered.
Yeah, and you'll only be able to see the qualifications that you're assigned to.
Okay.
So if you only deliver a particular set and then others deliver others, then you'll only be able to see, say, customer service. You won't be able to see automotive, for example, if you're not approved to deliver. So it's unfortunately it's for the qualification as a whole.
That's right, that's it. Fine, thank you.
Okay, and then so from there you've got the appointments calendar, which is a big version of the calendar that's on your home screen that you can set up calendar as well by clicking on the export function, which does like an overlay into your own iCal or Outlook if that's something that you've got. But I'll come in to create an appointment in the contact diary, and then you can have a kind of a calendar with your learner visits, whether they're general meetings or reviews, in one place. I appreciate you've probably got your own internal diary, but sometimes it's quite good for the learners to be able to have their appointments in their own diary as well, which they can obviously sync up to their own maybe phone diaries or something. News and events. So this shows on your home screen as well on this right hand side, but that is like the bigger view of it. So if you want to see the details, so it might be, we've won this award, it might be updates that you want to share internally on the situation that we've got at the moment. It might be updates about exams, about downtimes, about open days. They're the kind of things that you could put in here as a bit of communication. It reduces email trails within the centre if you've got emails going through constantly. But again, it's just optional as to whether you want to use that. These notifications will come from management, admin, that kind side of things. So it's not for assessors or IQAs or anything to make the communication. It's sort of the level up. So it's entirely up to you, again, as to whether that is something that you would benefit telling your management that you'd want that information to be passed down.
Amy, just out of that, just in regards to the news and events, if we were to say to the learner's registered mobile number or email that's on their account?
Not their mobile number, no, we don't have notifications on there for like text messages or anything, but it's on their home screen to be able to see when they come into it. So they'll see the new piece of event or news on here.
So they need to be coming into it to actually see any updates then?
To see the detail, yeah.
Yeah, okay, no worries, thank you.
That would be good for the likes of pushing out learner surveys and things, wouldn't it?
Yeah, loads of people put learner surveys in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you've got a month to do this, so, you know, and then the
Yeah.
link's always there for them to be able to go into.
Brilliant.
A lot of centres use it for if they're planning standardisation meetings. They put it in there with their agenda and any additional documentation they want to share around, because then EQAs, if they're doing a remote visit, then they can go in and see your standardisation plans and documents without you kind of having to email it along. So it can be used in that sense, because you can choose who sees what. So, you know, admin might send down a standardisation on behalf of the IQAs, and it'll say, I only want this to be visible to assessors and not to the learners, for example. So you can kind of monitor who sees that. Any questions on the additional parts of the system before I go into the learner journey?
No, Grant.
Amy, sorry, I just had one question, and it's going back to the notifications on the homepage.
Yeah.
It's more from the other end, the learner's end. How, when they submit or upload evidence, does that automatically send a notification through to that homepage? Because I've seen the notifications there, and I presume that's what's happened. But do they have to click something or do it in a certain way?
No, upload, then yes, and you'll get that notification come through. So the learners don't have to do anything for you to get that notification, which you will. Then ask them to, or make sure that they've got their notifications turned on in their induction.
Gotcha.
It's just we can't turn it on for them because of GDPR and things. So it's for them to kind of put on.
That's right. No, I saw them coming through, and I just wondered how they did that. But they just do what they need to do, and it comes through because I've got it switched on. Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. So I'll go into the assessment cycle now. And this is the bit that people will either do completely the same or completely different. So feel free to jump in when you want. So I've run a standard customer service framework. Now, I'm going to click into her now. You can see course snapshots, unit selections. You can email login details, which is quite a good button to know. And then you've got assessor guidance. If you don't see this, it's again because on the setup of your system admin hasn't uploaded things. But in here, you can upload from that management perspective things like qualification handbooks. It might be links out to intranets, or it could be documentation that's related to the qualification as a whole. It could be a folder full of workbooks that you want them to do. But it will tell you if it's learner guidance or assessor guidance. Now, if it's assessment guidance, only you can see it. If it's learner guidance, obviously you and the learner will have that guidance button that you can click on and see that. You can see who the primary assessor and verifier is, and any secondary if they were in there, and you can see their progress. So they're started, which is any work that they've begun, completed, which is all the work that you have signed off as competent, and expected is the amount of units in the course over the time that they're on programme. How far along should they be? So it's saying they're expected to be 14% of the way along. This will tell you their start date, anticipated end date, and the last time they logged into the system. Now, the first thing I want to do is to go into the contact diary, so contact in the middle, and I want to make a plan with the learner. So this is where all your communication should go. Oh, I've got a hand up.
Yeah, that's just me.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to sort of stop you, but at the same time, it might be a good time to do it. That guidance button you mentioned.
Yeah.
We don't have that. How do you add
any assessor guidance? So in the course building part, you can add in that documents and that guidance per qualification. So then that button will appear. But the reason you guys haven't got it will be because nothing's been added.
Right, so we would need to speak to administrator and get that put in, because I would find that very handy, because at the moment we sort of email like assignments or workbooks I need to complete through this to them. So
right,
it would be
you can have it all in there on the same page.
Yeah, that would be good.
Is Teresa our admin, is she? Does anybody know? Is that email That email
I'm not.
login. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure, Neil, because I can do certain things on the system, but not full. Do you know what I mean? So if I can't do it, then it's definitely going to have to be Teresa. But
Yeah.
as I say, I didn't know anything about it either.
Is there any
I could
way, can we change their email addresses on here, or does that have to go through that other system that you use? Just that email login details would be handy, because a number of learners who forget their login details.
You guys should have that email login details if you're the primary assessor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's then what email's been put on the system in the first place. I think Neil was referring to being able to change the emails on there.
Right.
If
No,
it's
so
set
the
up with a
learner
college email address.
Yeah, so the learner can upload it, can change their email, but when they register the learners, their email should be put on there as well. But that you can't change it from your end to the learner. But they can go onto their home screen and press forgotten password as well, and then that will give them the password that they'll type in their email and it will come through to them. So there's a couple of ways they can do it.
So we usually have their college email address in there, and chances are, if they've forgotten their learning assistant details, they've forgot their college login as well.
Yeah, so maybe on induction it'd be good to tell them to change the email address in here to the one that they would want it to come through to.
That's a good idea.
And just make it part of that kind of welcome to learning assistant type spiel that you might have.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
No worries. But yeah, no, Lee, absolutely feel free to jump in at any point. It's not a problem. So in the contact diary, like I said, this is everything that you want to, your audit trail from the moment the learner joins and is on Learning Assistant, all of the contact that's related to their course and their qualification, everything should go in here. Even if it's like the learner's not turning up, they've missed some visits, they've, whatever it might be, this is your audit and really good for that kind of quality process. So you can see the full learner journey. So to start this, I'm going to create an entry, which I know you guys will be familiar with the contact diary, but do you change the entry label here to the drop down depending on what you're doing?
Yes.
Good. That's good news. So it's worth having a look at them and making sure that you've got them, you do change them. The plan is the only one that will lock down the plan that you're asking the learner to do until they have accepted it. You want that to happen because of the to show the audit. So title. Oh yeah, I've got a hand up.
Sorry, I mean, I said yes, but I think genuinely what I'm doing is either general or I'm using assessment feedback. I don't think I've used any of the other designs, to be fair, so I reiterate, I'll take that back. Yes is not the right answer.
No, that's fine. So change it, definitely change it to what it needs to be because it's really good, and I'll show you how you can filter that at the end. So please complete this work for the next visit, and then the feedback is a bit of a detail around what you want them to do. Like what are you expecting from your learners? So in there you can then add in an appointment, which we discussed. You've got the large appointment calendar, but then you can add in the next time you're going to see them or when this is due by within this kind of appointment date. You guys can ignore on and off the job training because obviously that's for standards and you probably won't have that. And then you can get the learner and maybe their employer to acknowledge it if that's what you need. Or if you've got a countersigner because you're a new assessor, then you can ask them to acknowledge it as well. I always save at that point because it's saving the template so you don't lose the detail. And then from there, you can add in any related document system. And from there, you guys may not be able to see if system admin again hasn't done this. But these are forms like if you have an assessment planning document, a review form, but this is digital forms that are embedded in the contact diary that you can open up, complete the information and save it. So at the moment, if you've got a assessment planning form on a Word document that you use, you might complete that out, save it, and then have to upload it into related documents. Whereas if that form is built into the system, then you can assign it here and just fill in the details, which means it's embedded, so you don't have to save it and upload it to your system over and over again. But like I say, that's maybe a conversation to have with your system admin if that's something that you want and isn't in there already. And then just complete the tabs along the top. So the first one is outcomes. So this is where you're telling your learner where you want them to do this work. So I'm making this plan and it's going to be for unit 206 for me. You can view that. So it might be that you've changed them to green because they're really on track, or you change them to red and you want to look at to why you made that change. You can see the summary of everything that you've asked the learner to do, where it's related to, etc. It's now gone just for notification for this at any point for the first 30 days. So after the 30 days, it will be locked out, just so that it's making sure that people don't change things too far in the past. Okay, any questions?
Putting what happened today in the description, and then the feedback on what we've done today and how they've got on, and then a new plan in there for the next visit. So we've not got any separate things apart from when we're seeing them almost. That's it. But what you're doing is, I suppose it's going to take us a while to get our heads around, and if we sort of go that way, or if we're too sort of entrenched in the way we're doing it to change almost, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I recommend with quite a lot of my centres when I do these kind of back to basics, it's a lot of the time it is centres that have been using it for a while. And I say when you're there with your learners and you're kind of giving them that feedback on a visit or on some evidence that they've completed, you've got that when you're giving them feedback, when you're giving them an assessment decision or reviewing their work, or in create an entry, like I say, them drop downs. Then you've got feedback, you've got a visit that you've done, whether it be remote, you've got teaching and learning, training. So you've got those to identify it. The description really should be a title, and that's definitely our fault for having the sort of poor wording. But it's the title, and then the feedback is the the detail around that feedback that you're giving them. And I would say get into the habit of sort of doing that with them, and then creating a plan separately, because the best, if they want to check that you're making good plans, they can view them by going down here, rather than direct.
And functionality for our set is do your contact area as in your assessment feedback, give them the description of what you looked at and the feedback on it, and then do a second one then for planning.
Yeah.
And just from that, just sort of has those so it's two contact areas per visit.
Yeah.
Does that make? Yeah.
And
you can do any teach and learn as well. If
be several. But
at their course, which is probably what they're going to do first, is go and have a look, see where they've got green ticks. If can you see there, it's identified this as planning a plan. You've got something to do in here. So the learner can go down, see your plan that's related to the outcome, any resource. See the audit trail here, because it doesn't let them start like cross-reference work into that unit without creating the plan. As the learner, on the 1st of April, I accepted it at 10:30. So you've got that audit of the learner accepting the plan, which is the biggest thing that people lose within getting an e-portfolio. But it's the first thing we lose when we're doing our TACWA or A1 or whatever it was that you did. It's making sure that that planning cycle is completed. So without that drop down of changing it to plan, then you don't get it doesn't show anywhere like quite clearly that you've planned something in the system.
Right. And so that relies on the actual learner going into Learning Assistant again and clicking that to accept it. So if it goes past a deadline date,
it will come over to you as overdue deadline.
Right, okay. And how do we eventually remove that? Because I think I've seen a couple of those on previous learner files. I just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, so you can either remove it or accept on behalf of, or change the date. So you can kind of do that. There's always a step forward and a step back in Learning Assistant.
Excellent. No worries. Thanks, Amy.
No worries. So this learner has accepted the plan now. Go away, maybe do some work, do whatever they're going to do, and then they can upload their evidence, which I'm sure is something that you're used to seeing. Either create or upload. You can drag and drop evidence that's open or browse files that are in here. You can upload as many files as you like in here. and the learners can upload anything as well. It can be Word documents, PowerPoints, videos, audios, all of that. It's just common sense. The more that you fill in, the longer it just takes for it to upload if there's loads and loads of documents. And then we work along the top. Now, there is learner videos that you can send them to explain this. So I always tell them to give it a sensible title. They can move this if they forgot where they're working. They can explain what they did. And then they can type and cross-reference. Now, this is where most people panic, but I really don't want people to. And it's just getting the learners to take a bit of ownership and understanding as to what's part of their assessment. Now, system admin can change these evidence types if they're not relevant to your site. So a lot of people will get rid of don't know and not applicable. But it's getting your learners to say, right, I've done this workbook that you've asked me to do for 206. So therefore, I've answered questions. You can change this as well at a later date. It's not a problem. And then cross-reference, they're saying, yeah, I've answered this for 206 and I've done all of it. And again, you can undo this yourselves as well. So the learner has now saved that piece of work that they've uploaded, and it will come up with a pop-up which will ask them if they want to submit evidence for review. You understand this so that the learners do as well. So submitting evidence for review, this is them asking, I'm sending to you now in this contact diary, I'd like you just to give me a little bit of feedback on this. So it's not an assessment decision, it's not signing things off, it's just saying, would you, can you just give me a bit of feedback? Am I answering these types of questions right? If so, then they press submit for review. If not, then they can close. That's because in the past, for a learner to be able to give you returning the work, saying a really unsupported portfolio. So now you can give them feedback, and then at the point when they have got enough pieces of performance criteria, that's when they'll say, submit my competency claim. So that's them saying, I don't think for me to achieve this, I've got any more work to do. The difference with those two. No?
That,
Good news.
when you submitted competency claim, was that them submitting their competency claim, or I've sort of lost track of the screens there? So that would take it, that's in the learners one still.
Yeah, so the learner will say, I think I've done everything that I need to do for this. You've not, you've given me all this work and I've done it all. I think I'm happy and I think you could sign me off as competent. You can do it on behalf of the learner, but it's just them asking for that final decision. The review is, can you tell me how I'm doing on this piece of work? That competency claim is, look, I think I've done, can you give me an assessment decision? Can you either tell me if I've passed or, I know we don't like to use the word, but failed? And it's kind of asking, they're asking you for that, I think I've done enough. So it is a little bit scary to start with. I had some learners that would probably tick that for absolutely everything after just answering maybe 5 questions. But we've done a learner video to support that, and we've kind of, there's stuff to kind of guide them through that. Neil, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, just to check, Amy, sorry, the way I've been doing it, which is probably creating extra work for myself, I've been getting, if they say fill in a worksheet, I've been printing it out and manually marking it and giving them feedback on the worksheet. How would you mark it and give feedback if they've just uploaded it directly?
So that's what I'll come back to when I go into the assessor section next for you.
Yeah,
Amy, can I just ask a quick question on that? So is that sort of moving, again, maybe I'm reading into it wrong, basically if they're going to if they're uploading their evidence to say, right, okay, I've done what you've asked me, I've planned it, you've sent me a worksheet, I've done it, so there it is. But they don't want me particularly to look over it first. They're just saying, there it is, I've done it. It's more or less, I'm sort of more getting confused again. Is this then set up as an English standards as opposed to framework, whereas where we would have assessed it, no, they're telling us that they're competent? No, this is
framework. This was designed for. So if I kind of maybe put a bit of context to the story. So when I did my EQA qualification in learning assistant as a learner, and I used to, it was very much kind of written work. So I used to upload like maybe 501.1, 501.2. I used to upload it bit by bit, and I'd keep uploading. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't getting any feedback. I wasn't, having any communication with my assessor. So I emailed her separately and I said, look, I'm uploading some work and I'm not getting any feedback. She went, oh, but you've not submitted your competency claim. I said, but I'm not. I just want you to give me a bit of guidance as to how I'm doing. I need some feedback. I'm not telling you that I've finished. I'm just wanting to understand it. So then it automatically came back, oh, can you email it me? And then she would do it and then email me back and then have to copy it into Learning Assistant. And then once I was like, actually, I've finished everything I need to do now, then I would press submit my competency claim, which she would get a notification to say that I've done something, to give me an yes, you're competent or not. So it comes back to the assessor. Don't forget, I'm still in the learner side at the moment. Whereas now, when the learner presses submit for review, if they want it, that's like them saying, I need a bit of guidance. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. And then you can feed back and say, yeah, actually, you're going along the right lines. I'm pretty happy with your work. Keep going. And then when you're happy, submit your competency claim and I will let you know if you're competent or not. So that's the difference. So it means that now you're getting notifications when they upload a piece of work for them to be reviewed, rather than that kind of assessment decision. Because at the end of my portfolio, when I was doing that, I had all these really nice positive comments and feedback throughout the whole lot, but they were all saying referred. And so it just looked like throughout my entire qualification, I was just being referred every 5 minutes, whereas actually it was just because I needed to keep adding bits to it. So that's the difference with this. And I'm going to go into the assessor part of the system in a second, so you can see what that looks like on the reverse, which will probably make a little bit more sense.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
All right. It's a bit of a shift from sort of what you're used to doing. Appreciate that. It's kind of just the best practice, which is why I said at the start, you'll either decide to go down this route or not. I can see Mark's just joined. So Mark, I'm just going to unmute you so you can choose. That's where these will take you down to these bits here. Name, which will take me straight through to the evidence folder. Now this piece of work. So you click on this and open it up. If it's in a Word document or something like that, or Paint or anything that you want to annotate on, then you absolutely can. But the way that we should have a look at that, then you click on this clipboard, which will open up a contact diary. And now this is where, if I a lot of the time do a split screen, if you know how to do that, it's not something that is a learning assistant thing, it's just what we do. So you can see the piece of evidence here that the learner's been doing, and then you will give your feedback in here. So it might be to 6.1. You're all the way down, and you'd be looking at that work and giving the feedback down here. Rubbish, closing statement, etc. You just keep going, and that's where you give your feedback based on this piece of evidence. So in there you've got your that you're giving them just a review, not a competency claim. You're giving them feedback, add more, and need 2 more performance criteria. Again, ask the learner for acknowledgement that they've seen and understood that feedback. If they've gone really happy and ticked everything that they think it's going to be cross-referenced to, you can say, no, this is doing, not questions, so you can undo that, and then save. That has then gone back to the learner to say, you've got a bit of feedback on this piece of evidence for you to kind of keep working on. And then here you can see that it's got a 1 next to that clipboard. So that's you giving that review to say you need some more work before you submit it, please do some more. The nice bit then is the learner can go in and replace that piece of work. So you've said that's not good enough, they've gone away, they've added to it and they've replaced it. That then creates a revision history, rather than at the moment you've probably got 500 pieces of evidence, all with different reference number, and some of them are just adding bits to others. So the revision history means that this is the first piece of evidence that they sent you, You've asked them to add some more. They've added some more. You've then gone back and said, can you have some more? And they've got it here. And then the final bit that you're happy with will sit in that one tidy piece. So you can see that sort of start, distance travelled, and the final bit of that document or that piece of evidence that the learner's given. So that's why that pop-up comes, would you like your evidence to be reviewed? That's what that means, is that yes, they want you to give them a little bit of feedback of what it looks like at the moment. Any questions on that bit? No. And then the next bit, so we're going to park that to one side, and the next bit is when you've said to them, you know, submit your competency claim and we'll have a look. And that's the bit that's kind of always been in the system, which is down here. So when they submit their competency claim, it actually locks this outcome. So they can't upload anything else. They can't add any more work, cross-reference anything until you've made an assessment decision. So they've said, I'm going to submit my competency claim for you to have a look at. You have a look at all of the evidence that they've gathered over that outcome as a whole. And you can decide where it matches the assessment criteria. If they've chosen the wrong evidence types, you can click on the I and you can change it and say it wasn't a question, it was product, for example, and save. And then that will change. And then once you're happy with all of these columns, and you're saying, I've seen enough pieces of evidence for all of these, you would tick the yellow box at the bottom, which is saying that you've seen enough pieces of performance criteria to say that 1.6 has been done, 1.5 has been done, and so on and so forth. This means that when you then pull out your gap analysis, 1.6 won't be on there, 1.5 won't be on there. So you can see everything that's outstanding and it removes all of the bits, and that drives the progression for the learners. So once you've saved that and you're happy with it, that's where you are making that assessment decision. You're accepting or returning the work. So that's where that submit competency claim comes in. So the learners are saying, yes, I think I'm done, I'm happy, I'm competent, but you can still press return and say, actually, no, you're not, you still need to do some more. So that is not them having any final decision. You can always open it up and say, it's not been right. You can submit on behalf of the learner their competency claim, but they should be able to understand what they need to do to achieve that outcome as a whole. And then you can see that assessment, that audit trail at the bottom. So the plan that you did when they accepted the plan, the review that you gave them, so that kind of feedback that you gave them to be able to get them to that final point, and then the final assessment decision, whether that's a return or accept in this top bit. So that's how they achieved or didn't achieve this outcome as a whole. So that's the difference between that submit for review or submit my competency claim. Anyone got any questions? Want to shout at me? Scream a little bit?
I think you've just blown our minds, Amy.
In a good way or a bad way? Probably bad.
We have too much hand holding of learners. We're doing all this for them.
Say that again, sorry.
Can I just ask a question, probably more to the team though? What do we have by way of, training the learners on using this? So is there, a training guide for them? Is there anything like that?
Not just us sitting going through it, but we didn't really understand it before either. So
right. So Amy, is there like a learning training guide on how to use it, or did you mention there was YouTube videos?
Yeah, we've got videos that we've put together, and we've just actually done a load of fresh ones for this COVID-19 to be able to send out to people as well. So I don't know if you guys have seen the there's like a I can send it on. Actually, I'll send it to you, Mark, to be able to share around. And it's kind of a list of drop-in webinar sessions over the next couple of weeks that you can log into and just ask for Q&A. But by registering to one of them, they're all free. You get a whole load of videos as well sent to you that you can share out. So you'll have a whole load for assessors, and they're little mini 1, 2, 3 minute videos of how to do these little bits. And there's some for the learners as well that you can have, send on, keep forever, do what you like with. But then you can watch them as well, and then you can choose to drop into these Q&A sessions as well if you want. But they might be really valuable.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah, Amy, that's brilliant.
It just means that you can send them on to learners, and as well,
talking to Emma last week, and she had already sent that on. I think the list of webinars that you were going to do around Learning Assistant. So I've already shared that out with the guys.
Cool, brilliant. So yeah, jump on that, and there is a learner one as well. So there's the learner side of things with all them videos, so you can get access to them as well. But then they're the best things to share out with your learners. And then as well, system admin, whoever that is who has access to that settings bit, you can customize the home screen here. And you can actually put in hyperlinks. So you could put in here, please watch this video to know how to upload and cross-reference evidence. And then you can have a link out to that YouTube video or whatever. So it's all sitting in the system for the learners to be able to go in and look at.
Emma, are you set up as our admin for Learning Assistant?
I'm not the full administrator though. Do you know what I mean? Teresa Conlon has more rights to it than I do. I don't, I've had the same training as everybody else.
I know, I'm not saying training, I'm just saying, do you have that clearance?
Well, that's what I mean. I've had the same training as anybody else. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, who knows? Do you know what I mean? There's things I'm learning about this today as well. But yes, Teresa did sort of go over this initially at the start. And just like you said, Amy, she had referenced the YouTube videos and stuff,
Yeah, so they're really good to put on the home screen, definitely. But you'll get access to all of them to send out to your learners. But this is, like I say, this is what I've demonstrated today, and I have recorded it so I can send it out, is the best practice of how to demonstrate that start to finish process, the audit trail, with being an awarding organisation, we have to go through policy and quality as well in our process. So that's the best practice. You can adapt that to what suits you. Only absolutely use the parts of the system that suit you. But that's kind of how you get the right, multiple contact diaries that you can label with your planning, your teaching and learning, your supported learning, which is really good for audit when you've got people coming in, especially EQAs and things. But then you can also, that's the difference between awaiting review and awaiting evidence review, which will explain if some of you have got loads of evidence in here or loads of evidence in awaiting review and why you've got the differences. Any other questions on the assessor part of the system? No? Okay, that's good news. So, and we're on time as well, which is great. So it's now just coming up to 11. So I've kind of put in just a quick half an hour gap. I'm sure we're all working from home and probably staring at the kettle by now. So if any of you are due to come back onto the IQA part at 11:30, use the same webinar link and it will log you back into the site. Any other questions you've got, then absolutely feel free to email digital support, which are, you've probably all got the contacts too, but at the very bottom of every page you've got customer support link with their email. Or myself, I think Mark and a few others have probably got my email address still. So feel free to kind of ask any additional questions, but we'll give it half an hour, have yourselves a cup of tea and a bit of a stretch. And then if you're due to come back onto the IQA session, we'll log on to the same webinar at 11:30. And then I'll send all the recordings through to yourself, Mark, as well, once we've done that, so that that can be distributed around.
Perfect, thank you. That's
Are
great.
we-
Thank you, Jamie.
No
Are we
problem.
coming back?
Thanks, Jamie.
Are we
Speak
coming
to you
back?
shortly.
Speak to you soon,
Amy,
guys.
sorry,
Oh,
is
yeah.
it worth you know, for us all to come back onto the IQA so we can see from their point of view what they're looking for?
Since
And for myself as a county designer, is it going to be of benefit? Just because I know our IQA was Amanda and she can't actually make it, but can we carry on, you know, and still have a look at that?
Yeah, I've got no issue with that, if Mark's all right with that.
No, well, that's what the plan was, for everybody to get an insight into that, so that's why we
Yeah,
got the IQA,
yeah,
so that
so everybody
the
can back
and
on.
assessor can understand, yeah.
Okay,
Brilliant.
cool. Well,
Thanks.
I'll see you all back in about half an hour.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.